gas masks and hand grenades. Gas masks and hand grenades. Gas masks and hand grenades. Gas masks and hand grenades.
What is party mofo people? What's happening? We've got this guy in from the wilds of Saskatchewan or somewhere out there.
Northern Michigan. We're all good. No Saskatchewan.
No Saskatchewan. No. You weren't out there hunting. Sam Squanches?
Sam Squanch. No Sam Squanch.
You know what? It just dawned on me where that came from. I was like, where did that? Oh, it's fucking Trailer Park Boys.
Yep, Trailer Park Boys. Yep.
Awesome. Hey, what's happening? It is Gas Masks and Hand Grenades. I am your host, Jeff, and I got this cat with me here, Mr. Marty Worm from the Heavy Metallurgy channel, the YouTube channel and website, and all kinds of soon to be taking over the entire world. We know something, right?
Well, I don't know about that, but
world domination is that's the modus operandi, correct?
We're having fun. That's all I care about. Having fun, and people seem to show up and watch us babble on. So cool.
Yeah. We were as we were talking backstage. I was on Friday night with Rick and Alan, and we had a really good time, man. Doing the not quite tens. Although I told Alan, man, when he sent me that topic, I'm like, dude, come on, really, man, come on, man, don't do that. Like, don't do that to me. I'm like, because generally I don't hand a lot of tens out. But if I do, I'm going to be super hard pressed to find anything wrong with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was a struggle. And basically a lot of them came down to, man, I love this album, but it's that one track, that cover track that they did, or that, that kind of stuff. So that was kind of a pain in the ass. But so Marty, what are we here to do tonight? We are here for the second episode of the Dad series, and we are dads.
True that.
So we're going to talk about child rearing tonight.
Yes, we are. Yes. How to fail forward.
Spare the rod, save the child. Is that what they
something
said,
like that? I can't remember. Yep.
Of course, I remember when my mom beat me with a metal fly. You remember those metal fly swatters? They'd have the metal things.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I pissed my mom off one time because I was egging my brother on. I was trying to get him pissed off so that he would do something so I could beat his ass, right? And yeah, I was a pretty cruel bastard. And she chased me around the house and got me cornered in the bathroom between the tub and the toilet and beat the living piss out of me with one of those metal fly swatters. I don't know. Is that something I could bring charges on later in life, or?
No, that was common back then.
Yeah. But anyways, the Dad series. So if you don't know what the Dad series is, you can read about it a little bit in the descriptions, but real quick thumbnail version of what's going on is that I started this series. You know, everybody does this thing like album wars and, you know, head-to-head combat and throwdowns and all that stuff. And I was like, well, I want to have a series where it's just me and one person, not 15 like normal with me. And I want to try to do something where we focus on one album, not 15 or 20 in a band's discography, because that's overwhelming for a lot of people. And a lot of my guests have probably hate my guts and have voodoo dolls that they probably stick with pins and shit, because especially when I call them or I text them, they're probably like, oh, no, I'm not taking that call. No way.
Block.
Block. Right, exactly. But so I wanted to do this series where it was just one-on-one, and we would agree upon a band that we both know quite a bit about and enjoy quite a bit. And then we pick what we feel is kind of the definitive album in the catalog. There's no wrong or right here. And yes, to some extent, it kind of comes down to personal preference. But I kind of tried to look at, you know, what's indicative of their career and a high point in their career. So with this band, initially we talked about Gorguts, but then I decided no bands I've done deep dives on, because it's just, we've already been there and done that, and I don't want to keep beating the dead horse. And then we actually talked about Rat, which I still would like to do because I love those early Rat albums, and you do
Mhm.
as well. But I don't know how we ended up at Iron Maiden, but somehow we ended up at Iron Maiden, and it dawned on me I've never done anything about Iron Maiden. I've never even brought. I don't think I've even. I probably haven't shown them much until Friday night. I showed the first Iron Maiden album. So we got the Iron Maiden pick in, and you chose what album, sir?
This guy right here.
Killers from 1981, which I actually put 1982 in my description. I'm like, that doesn't look right.
It's not 81
then
February. It came out February 81.
So 1981, you chose Killers.
And is this a definitive album? No, but I picked it because it's my favorite, and I think it's very much an end of an era for a couple reasons. But we'll get into that.
Well, we'll get into that because that's an interesting dynamic on what we're going to do now. Because so far, the only band that we've done has had one singer. So this is different because we have kind of two eras, and you picked one from the first era, which is scant. It's only 2 albums.
Yep.
Was there a live album from the early that was made in Japan?
Made in Japan.
Yeah, made in Japan. And then, the bulk of the catalog is made up by the guy that sings on this album. This is my pick, Somewhere in Time, which I think you said is your another.
It's my favorite Bruce album. I mean, it's
Okay.
real close between that and Power Slave.
Yeah. So, so we're going to get into this, and we're going to kind of dig down and get granular on these 2 albums. And we need to get into who Iron Maiden are? I mean, they're only probably. Is there any band that's bigger than in metal other than perhaps Metallica?
No.
Globally?
No.
I mean, maybe Rammstein, kind of, but I'm not even certain about that. I don't.
I mean, if you look at arena bands in metal or metal adjacent realm that we are in, I mean, you got Metallica, you got Iron Maiden, you got Rammstein, and then of course in the periphery you've got Foo Fighters, which aren't a metal band, but they're keeping arena rock live, yep. And they're metal adjacent too. As everyone,
sure,
a lot of people may or may not know. He did the Probot project, which is actually really good. It's really good. In fact, we listened to it this weekend around the fire.
Did you really?
Yeah, it's really amazing how he crafted each song perfectly for each of the singer's style. It was really cool. But
so do Iron Maiden need any introduction? Not really. They're like we said, as far as an arena band, I mean, this band plays to 80, 90, 120,000 people in Rock in Rio. I mean, it's stunning when you see the size of the crowds that they played to. It's kind of mind-boggling. And
it's almost criminal that their career's coming winding down, because they're who replaces that?
And what I guess Nico's 71, Steve's 67.
And had a stroke.
Bruce, had a stroke. Yeah, and Bruce and Adrian and Yannick are right in that 55 or 65, 66 range. So they're all approaching that 70 number, and we've seen a lot of guys that hit that number. Rush, they're no more. Now, would Rush still be touring if Neil Peart was alive? Hard to say, but I kind of doubt it. Not the way Maidens tend to. Although Maiden has scaled back the gigantic nature of because they're such a spectacle. They kind of do a lot of these fly-ins, and they're such massive, shows. But how many times have you seen them?
Just once.
Just once.
Brave New World tour when Bruce got back with them. I saw him in Pine Knob in Detroit.
Yeah, I've seen him twice on the worst album, or at least my worst album, which is the
Virtual 11.
Huh?
Virtual 11.
Well, the worst Bruce album.
Oh.
The Frontier, Final Frontier.
Oh God, I don't like that record either. There's like 2 good songs on it.
Yeah, but what was interesting about that tour was Dream Theater actually opened. It was before Mike Portnoy left, and then they actually kind of they were good. But and then I saw him on the Book of Souls tour, which was really great. I mean, it was killer, and Ghost opened for him, which was kind of weird, but Ghost was kind of opening for everybody. Now they're headlining arenas, I guess. But what's crazy is that in 1983, I believe it was 83 or 83, my junior year in high school, Maiden was out for Number of the Beast, and Priest was out for another Screaming. I believe they were well, they weren't co-headlining. Maiden was actually opening for Priest on that tour.
Mhm.
And I had tickets to go, and as fate would have it, I was helping my stepdad chop wood, and I wasn't wearing gloves, and I had to take a whiz a couple times during my excursion in the woods chopping wood, and I woke up and I couldn't walk because I had poison covering me. So I ended up having to go on steroids. I literally couldn't get out off the couch for about 6 days. I got it so bad.
Oh, poison ivy?
Yeah, poison ivy all over the junk, dude. All over the junk, everywhere, man.
Like you needed another excuse to touch it, right?
Exactly, right. Yeah. Well, it's like, why is this itching? I think I was in 9th grade and I hadn't yet gotten laid. So there's that. TMI, I know. But anyway, yeah. So no, I wasn't in 9th grade. I was in 11th grade. I ended up having to give that ticket to a buddy of mine, and I didn't get to see him on that show, which would have been crazy to see Priest and Maiden on that. Would have been epic,
Yeah.
So, all right, let's get into it here. We're going to talk about basically how I kind of end up doing is I give a little bit of a spiel on, for example, Killers was released February 16th, 1981, recorded between November of 80 and January of 81 at Battery Studios in London. It came out on EMI, and it was produced by Martin Basher Birch. Did he produce the first album as well, too?
I don't know, but I can look real quick.
I'm trying to remember if he did. I'm thinking he probably did, but there's a big jump in the production on this album from the first album. That's why I didn't look it up, and I probably should have. But anyways, Killers spent 8 weeks on the UK charts. The North American edition, which came out a few months later, was initially released on Harvest Records. There you go, Marty.
Yep. Okay.
And subsequently on Sanctuary. The song Twilight Zone was added to the album. The Killers World Tour featured the band's first U.S. shows, beginning at the Aladdin in Las Vegas in support of Judas Priest, and subsequently Wrathchild is the only regularly played track from the album, appearing in almost all their tours, which it should be. Real quick on this chart position, it went to number 1 in the French albums charts. It went to number 12 in the UK, number 78 on the Billboard 200. Swedish charts, number 11. German charts, number 10. Finland, number 18. You get the picture. Australian 20. So it did fairly well. But again, we're on the second album, not the first album. So what do you want to talk about with this one, Marty? How do you want to approach it? You want to talk it track by track? You want to just talk about it overall? Jump into it.
First of all, Will Malone produced the first Iron Maiden. The band's only album produced by Will Malone, who Iron Maiden have since claimed lacked interest in the project and effectively left them to produce most of the album themselves.
Yep.
Which
makes total sense.
Which, according to Steve Harris, was completed in just 13 days.
Wow.
I don't know. I guess talk for a minute. I guess why I picked this one, why this is one of my favorites.
Why'd you pick it, and what was the thought process, and then jump into how you want to tear it apart and deconstruct it.
It was probably my first Maiden, and I really, unlike a lot of people, it seems, I really love Di'Anno in Maiden. I think this on Killers, this is the best he ever sang. Ever. I mean, really, he stepped up his game a lot, got a lot smoother, a little more power than on the debut. And after he left Maiden, I've heard like Paul Di'Anno's Battle Zone. I've heard a couple other things. It's just not as good. He fit in this band really well for this time.
Right.
You just know, listening to this music and listening to his performance, that where they would go after this, he couldn't follow. There was no way he was going to be able to maintain what he did on this record every night live. And the way the band was, there's another, not only was this Di'Anno's last album with Maiden, it was Adrian Smith's first album with Iron Maiden.
Right.
So, which he filled in, he came in after Dennis Stratton. I think Dennis Stratton was on the debut, which fantastic player. He's actually a really good singer as well. But Smith has a little bit more sophistication. And if you look at the guitar duo between Murray and Smith is calculated, very melodious. very focused guitar player, where Murray is more in the studio, just kind of, he hits his main lines, but he does a lot of improvisational noodling, which he's admitted to in interviews. And you see him live, like I said, he hits the key points, but there's a lot of improvisation in his playing. So it was a good point counterpoint in the guitar duo at this point, and also Adrian can sing. And moving forward, you almost had an inclination that they would start to maybe get a little more proggy, but not for a while yet. But they would start to refine. I think this is just the first. I love the first Maiden record, don't get me wrong, but this one just felt more cohesive. And the way the track listing runs, it's so perfectly plotted, and there's a bit of joyous feeling in the playing. The twin guitar leads, the actual note choices. There's a lot of uplifting stuff in here. Not only is it, like street brawler bangers as well from, the whole new wave of British heavy metal. This is kind of a, I hate to call it an almost punk type spirit to it, because I know Steve came out saying he hated that crap, but there's just a rawness to this record, even though Martin Birch, which I wish they kept up with him throughout the years, but he gave them the Maiden. I mean, he took Maiden, who had their sound, and made it set in stone. This is Maiden's sound, and they carried it with them for quite a while. But what did you think of this record off the cuff?
Well, I hadn't listened to it in a long time, and I have a pretty cool admission to make. I listened to this album 5 times in preparation for
Dude,
this.
it's fucking great, days. Man. It's so good.
I have one major criticism, and whether you agree or not, we'll see. And I listened to this 4 times, but this one is literally every note is in here. Minute I was listening, I'm like, boom, boom, boom. I'm singing the lyrics. I'm singing the guitar lines. My favorite Maiden song of all time is on this album. Yep. I could honestly say that maybe 2 or 3 or 4 of my favorite Maiden songs are on this album. Not to say that I don't love Power Slave. It's not to say I don't love Seventh or the first 7 albums, man. Almost hard to go wrong. I have a little bit of an issue with the first album, and we're not here to talk about that, but
it's rough around the edges.
It's rough, and it's more of a there's a punk energy to it that's cool, but it's not refined yet. And the production is kind of weak, I think, compared.
It's very raw.
It's raw, and the production on this steps up quite a bit. Yep. It's a big jump. But there are some absolute bangers on this album, man. Just some bangers. And I got to be honest with you, while I'm Team Bruce generally, there was something special about Di'Anno, man. He just had that street brawler, pub voice, that smoky cigarette-soaked voice that was nasty. He's a guy that would have beat your face in if you looked at him the wrong way, right? And there's something cool about that. And that's that he gave the band that punk ethos that Steve claims he didn't really want. I don't think it was that he didn't want Paul necessarily, at least at first. I think Paul sort of wore his welcome out because he wasn't being serious about where Steve had a vision, man. And we see where it led him. It led him to be a multi-millionaire, something like that. Maybe a billionaire. I don't know about that, but he's fucking stupid rich. Let's be honest. Yeah. And it was his vision that got them here. You know what I mean? And so the other thing too, which you didn't mention, well, maybe you're going to mention it, but Clyde Burr's drumming is great.
I have him wrote at the top of the list. I prefer him to Nico.
So go ahead. You jump into it track by track, then I'll give you a little wrap up on what I feel about the tracks, and then we'll jump into my album and we'll do the same thing.
I gotta say too, we listened to it a couple times this weekend too, out around the fire, and I gotta say that this sounds like another reason why these songs, they're well crafted songs to begin with, but they're made even more lively by the fact that you can hear that this is a band that's at the height of their hunger. You can tell they play together every day. You can tell they probably picked up every single show that they could, maybe sometimes twice a day if they could. And this just sounds like a band that has been beating on these songs, refining them. And yes, and it's funny, Di'Anno, I wrote street brawler / punk who could carry a tune. This was at the height of his range. Clive Burr, tight in the pocket, heavy and powerful fills, in lockstep with Harris. I just preferred Clive always seemed a little more hard hitting and planned out drumming wise, where Nico has some feel to him. And anyway, track by track, Ides of March, excellent intro and musical mission statement. I love the joyous and uplifting solo work, and basically without hearing Paul even sing a note, you know what you're in for with just the very intro. Wrathchild feels like a 70s street gang theme song. Heavy, sleek, catchy, and ready to fight. Classic and timeless, stayed in their set list off and on for decades. I mean, right away, your first real song on the album, it's just a heavy, hard-hitting, well-plotted out song with amazing solo work and deep hooks.
Dude, the riffs.
Oh, the riffs.
Oh, they're so good. It's so good on that song, man.
In the way that Di'Anno, I mean, he's not doing anything to reinvent the wheel here. He's just got a good ear for putting words in the places they need to go.
Yeah, good way to put it. Yeah.
And he doesn't, I would say that he has, the people are going to roll their eyes with, but it almost feels like a Dio type performance. He's not really singing out of his range much here.
Right.
He's just kind of a melodious, shouting sort of singing style, but he can take it up. He can scream too. He can get pretty, like on Prodigal Son. There's like a really smooth croon to him.
I kind of forgot that Paul did have some range on him to get some of the more falsetto. It's not the air raid siren that Bruce has, and the scream. It was more of a raspy sort of, not breathy. That's not the right word. What's the word? Kind of a smoky, hazy sort of falsetto. You hear it on Twilight Zone. You hear it on Prodigal Son. You hear it a little bit on Killers. You hear it a little bit on Wrathchild. But I mean that riff, and where he's doing the. That's such a killer fucking riff, dude. It's like, and I know that song very well. I've heard it hundreds of thousands of times. But as soon as I put it on, I'm like, man, I gotta listen to that again. I gotta go back and listen to that again. That's the mark of a killer song. And like you said, Di'Anno's singing on it. It just sells that song so well.
And if I see why they got Bruce, because Bruce could do the Di'Anno years justice. He can sing like that, but he took it to the next level. Whereas I think Di'Anno is topped out here. But for what he does on this record, is it amazing? No, it feels comfortable. It feels like that pair of pants that fit you just right. You put them on and it's comfortable. His singing isn't gross. It isn't. That's one thing about Bruce. Sometimes Bruce gets into these, does some stuff that it just seems like he's trying too hard, or I don't know. I like Bruce, but I prefer Di'Anno. I would take a guy that isn't as flashy, but just does good things, as opposed to someone that's more flashy and does good things,
Yeah.
But Murders in the Rue Morgue, quiet and mystical intro capitalizes on the more thoughtful side of Maiden. Also demonstrates the band's inherent need for dynamics, which they explored since the beginning, and of course carried on to a greater extent as they moved on. Then it kicks in to, more energetic banger with a nice and flowing hook, soaring lead work, and all held down by Steve's iconic bass lines. I mean, it's amazing how great, not only is he an amazing composer and songwriter, but this bass playing, how he is in lock with the bass, with the kick drums. But then he throws in like these little things, these little fills and runs, and and then it's another thing. We'll talk about production here in a minute, but I'll just get through this here so we're not talking about this album forever. Another Life. Cool.
Take your time.
Only one line of lyrics in this whole song, which for Maiden is weird. It's like one verse and he repeats it. It was very odd for him, that technique, but the song feels like an elongated chorus with a music break due to the atypical repetition. It works for me. It's a good chorus.
Which song? I'm sorry. Which song?
Another Life.
Okay. Yeah, that's where I start to fall off.
Yep.
You'll see in a minute.
It works for me. This track has a 70s hard rock vibe to it in the vocal melody. It's just, like I said, it's basically a chorus with a music break, and then they repeat the chorus again, but it's a good chorus. And if I were to say a song that's probably the worst on the album, it would be this, but I don't think it's a bad song. I think it's a great song. So Genghis Khan, instrumental. Not a huge fan of instrumentals at all, but this song is amazingly constructed through interesting moods and varying solo and bass lines. They provide that's one thing. Even though there's no lyrics on this, there between the bass lines and the guitar lines, there's a fantastic top line that the band serves up that kind of takes the place of vocals. It's a really energetic, colorful, hook-laden song. Innocent Exile, minimal lyrics, so they repeat lyrics a bit as they did on Another Life. Deano's character and placement makes it work. This one was a CD from the streets, sleaze and flow in the verse riffs. Dig it. Again, I don't think there's a bad song on here. There's some that are better than others, but and then we get to Killers. Heaviest and fastest on the album. Lyrics paint a stalker / killer tale. Fits the music. Classic Maiden. It's just you feel like Deano, and he kind of looks the part. He looks like the guy in the street in the dark alley waiting to jump out and take someone's purse or stab somebody. As I was going through reviewing the tracks, the YouTube music did not have Twilight Zone on there. So yeah, we were talking about this earlier. Depending on what version you have, the US versions have Twilight Zone added on. Or maybe it's a UK version. I don't know, but the record has Twilight Zone. This is a UK pressing, an earlier UK pressing. So I don't know, but it wasn't on YouTube music. But Twilight Zone, great song. I'll let Jeff talk about that more because I did not. I'd have to listen to the song. I know the song, but a great song. And there was one of the singles for the album as well.
Yeah, that's an interesting song for me. The verse is almost a barroom boogie. It sounds like a fucking Molly Hatchet song, but in the chorus it does that whoa, and he's doing the stacked harmonies in there, and it's super fucking cool.
Yeah, that Can't You See Me is like at the very tippy top of his range.
Yeah, he's really at the top of his range on that one for sure.
He wouldn't be doing that live.
Yeah, probably not. But that's a song that on first listen I was like, and then the second listen I'm like, yeah, okay. Third listen I'm like, all right, yeah, this is pretty fucking badass. And then, there are 4 tracks on here that I'm not sold like you are, and I'll get into that in a minute. But I'm
almost done here. Prodigal Son, which is probably my favorite song on the album. I put a little star by it here. I love the feeling and laid back vibe on this song. It's almost mystical, which is a quality that Maiden kind of runs with as they go. It kind of becomes part of their songwriting. Acoustic guitars backing the electrics. It's kind of, I never really listened to it that way. And I had it on headphones today. I'm like, those are acoustic guitars, mirroring. It really adds a very cool feel to it. Deano sings his ass off on this song. Dynamics are all over the place. It was perfect to place this lighter track after the ripping title track. A lot of feeling. Devil's got a hold of my soul. He won't let me be. Great.
Yeah, it's it's really weirdly, it's a very proggy song. It's probably the prog song on the album, and that the chorus part where he's getting into the chorus where he's going down to down to down, where he's doing down to down to down to down. It's like I kept listening to that going, what does that remind me of? And then I'm kind of like, it's kind of like a Who chorus in a weird way, where it's like where Pete would do almost like a pinball wizard sort of thing, almost with those jangly sort of open acoustic strings, which it's not a Who song, but that was what it reminded me of a little bit. And I was like, wow, check that out. And I gotta be honest with you, Marty, I hadn't listened to this, like I said, in a very long time, probably 4 or 5 years. So other than Rat Shot, I was kind of coming back in a little. Murs and the Rue Morgue I knew, but I was kind of like revisiting this with fresh ears. You see what I mean?
Right. Yep.
Yes, it is a requirement on my show that Marty and I will be doing a duet on one of these songs by the end.
But the thing of it is, I have whoa.
Oh, look at you. You got all kind of special effects on yours, man.
Yeah.
No, that's not very fair. Let me see. Do I have something there? No, I don't.
Go get a toilet paper roll.
Yeah. I'll just be dirty like this.
Yeah. But
anyway,
no, it's
and then you
the
got
prog. The thing of it is, when you start talking about prog, my mind instantly goes to the more noodly, sipping red wine and hip cats with the fedoras on and all that crap. But this is the type of prog I can take. It's more 70s bass. Like I said, that Prodigal Son, and there's elements on a couple of these songs. I mean, this band kind of came from the 70s. Whether they started in 77, so they're kind of predating heavy metal. They're helping form heavy metal. So there was no heavy metal bands to influence Iron Maiden and these super early guys. So what influences them? The hard rock of the era, the Nazareth.
Well,
that's where I hear some of that in here. You know?
I hear a lot of Thin Lizzy. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Well, you cannot not hear that. You know,
and a good bit of Wishbone Ash too. If you go back, Wishbone Ash was one of the first bands that was doing those multi-part harmonies where someone's playing a fourth and someone's playing a different octave or something like that. So that you definitely hear that. It was on the first album, but it becomes much more pronounced and much better fleshed out. And I think to some extent that's the addition of Adrian. I think Adrian's he proves very quickly he's a really good songwriter. He's a blues player. Adrian's primarily a blues player, but the way he plays the blues is incredibly fluid. He's not going to be doing the sweep picking stuff, but he doesn't have to because he plays a lot of really incredibly good pentatonic, alternate picked type solos that are like, they're just super melodic. They're super apropos for the song. And it's
a song within the song. It's a song within a song.
Exactly. And he's always done that ever since he's been there. And when he left, that was missing very much so for my ears. So don't get me wrong. Dave is a fantastic guitar player too, but I think
so is Yannick. Yannick Gears is a great guitar player as well.
Well, he's a great guitar thrower. He's
a good. He's a showman, of course.
He's also a dancer. He's a great dancer.
He's a great dancer.
Too, so I'm not really sure his guitar's actually plugged in, to be honest with you.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
I just don't know. But anyway.
Okay, we get to Purgatory, playful banger of a track, melodic with disorienting transitions. Not disorienting, but just like sharp start-stop chord sticks, which are really cool. Fantastic song, fast and endlessly catchy. I love the guitar and lead layering. Deano crooms and screams like he's on fire, and I love it. Drifter, ending track. Ends properly with an authentic... Oh, I'm sorry, I can't even read my own writing. Drifter ends properly with an anthemic banger. Another 70s influence track, but it sits perfectly within the melodic genius of the songwriting. Energetic ending, leaving them holding a smoking air guitar and a smile. So, yeah.
So for me, Ides of March is super cool. It's that intro thing. It's not too long, but it really introduces that dual harmony thing that they're perfecting and getting better and better and better, and would continue to get.
Oops. Jeff is having technical difficulties. So how are you all doing in the chat?
Oh,
there he is. He's back. All right.
What the fuck, man?
You froze up for a second there.
Yeah, man. I had issues with Jason McMaster the other day, and I don't know what's going on. This is concerning me. Anyway, so, you know what? We've got storms coming. I hope. Okay, so I need to move. Wrathchild, we talked about it. What I did was I gave bangers have a star, mega bangers have 3 stars, and if it's kind of tweener banger, that's a 2-star.
A betweener banger.
A tweener banger. And I've, by the way, I've copyrighted that, so please don't try to steal it.
I don't think I'll be saying tweener banger much.
I have to admit, I've had a couple tweener bangers. Some were good, some were...
Okay. Right on.
All right. So, Wrathchild, that's a full-on killer banger. That's a mega banger. Ides of March is a tweener banger. It's a tweener banger. Murders, that's a tweener banger, and the reason is I love the chorus. The verse is a little pedestrian, just a tiny bit. Not bad. Still love that track. Killers is a mega banger. Oh man, the fucking guitar work on that song is so good, man. And like you said, Paul's kind of at the edge there with what he's doing vocally, but it's so good, man.
I like that though. I like that just hanging on by a thread, but not losing it, not breaking out. It gives it and authenticity, like not
Agreed.
overproduced, gritty. Like I can, if you put Bruce and I can sing along with the Killers albums better than I can with the Bruce albums. But
wow, yeah, and we'll see where I go here. Let's see. I didn't drink. Maybe I should go drink quick, chug like one of those 7% but so Twilight Zone. Again, it's got that weird barroom boogie, almost Molly Hatchet type riffy thing during the verse, but then it goes into this just glorious chorus, man. The chorus is so good on that song. Yeah. Love it. And that's a mega banger. I got to give it a mega banger. Prodigal Son, that's a mega banger. If I could give 4 asterisks, I would. So we'll work on the formula going forward. I'm gonna have to come up with like a tweener mega tweener. And then we get into Purgatory. It's a tweener banger. I like the verse or the chorus a lot. The verse is kind of like in the Murders in the Rue Morgue for me. It's really good. It's not great. But I really love the chorus to that is fucking killer. I'm not with you on Drifter as the closer. I skipped 3 tracks that I'm going to get to in a sec in the middle. I'm not with you on Drifter, man. That's kind of just an average song to me. I don't hear anything special about it, and I was kind of hoping it was going to be, you know, something pretty insanely killer like, you know, Hallowed Be Thy Name or something like that. And it's just it's a 70s song. You're right. It's more 70s infused, and we're talking 81, so the 70s weren't that far away, but that one doesn't do much for me. Now, here's where things get a little weird. I think Another Life, Genghis Khan, and Innocent Exile are pretty meh tracks. They just don't do much for me. They're not memorable to me at all. Even Genghis, which is probably the most memorable because it's the instrumental and there's a lot of good guitar work going on there. It just falls a little short of the mark for me on this album. And then Innocent Exile, dude, I listened to this 5 times. I have no idea how that song goes. I just don't. Nothing's there. All the rest of these, I could probably pull 4 or 5 of them. I could sing the chorus or a verse to. 3 of them, I'd be close.
Sure.
Those 3, well, 2 are vocal tracks. Sorry, 2 of the 3, they just don't do much for me. So, you know, I love this album. Di'Anno's at his best on this album. The production is way better. Way better than the first album.
I love the production. This is the way Maiden's supposed to sound to me.
It's great. There's a bit of a lull in the middle of the album for me, and the Drifter goes on a little too long for me. That's if it was maybe a 3.5-minute song or a 3:40 song, but it's almost 5 and change, and it just doesn't do much for me.
Well, it's kind of like, it almost feels like a jam session as the tracks kind of listen my song, you know, there's like type stuff going on underneath it.
Yeah, which soon enough we're gonna get mega jam sections with Iron Maiden albums that go on for like days. So we didn't really need it there for my liking, but I get where you're coming from on it. So so probably a 9.25 out of 10 for me overall for the album, whereas you might be a 10 out of 10. So
you know what? The 10 out of 10 is you guys were kind of, is any album perfect?
No, not really.
No album is perfect.
Yes. Actually, there is. There's Farewell to Kings. There's Hemispheres. There's Power Windows. There's
Moving Pictures.
Signals, Moving Pictures, and Permanent Waves. But other than that, you might be right.
It's my favorite Maiden record. And is it because that's where I landed? Maybe. I mean, that's where I started listening to this band, but I just love the everyman kind of vibe of Paul Di'Anno's voice in Maiden, even on the first album. I love that record too. This one is the full realization of where they started. And there's hints here and there of where they're going to go. And thankfully Clive Burr remains in the band for Number of the Beast, which I love his playing. I love the sound of that record. I love those songs, most of those songs, but that album is, I'm so burnt out on the classics. I think we all are at this point.
Yeah, to some extent. I mean, we were talking about that on Friday night, and I'm like, you know, Paranoid. Love that album, but I just never want to hear Paranoid.
Iron Man Paranoid ever again.
Too. I actually do like the first Guns N' Roses album, but I cannot stand listening to Paradise City and freaking Welcome to the Jungle, the 3 big hits off of it. I never want to hear again. I still like some of the lesser tracks, like It's So Easy. And anyways, we're not getting it, but I don't really have a Maiden track that I don't want to hear. Like I can still listen to Number of the Beast. I can still listen to Hallowed. I can still listen to Power Slave or the songs we're going to talk about off this next album in a minute. So
man, there's some songs I don't want to hear again on Virtual 11, like Angel and the Gambler. Oh.
Yeah.
Well, just the repetitive chorus, and we're going to get into that on this next album here too, here for a second.
Yeah. It does kind of start on this.
That's
album.
where it
You're
starts.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're wrong. Whatever you're going to say about it, you're just wrong. I'm just going to tell you that right now. So, all right. I think that was pretty much it. And I think that was it. So my album, Somewhere in Time, that I chose. And I wanted to show this real quick. Is yours the original?
I have no idea.
So
it's
these
older.
are the
capital EMI.
Okay. So these are the Castle Records editions, and I have 4 of them, and they're kind of rare. I found out, or not rare, but like they're not easy to find for cheap. They go for $40-$50 a pop, and the reason is that they're 2-disc sets. And what's really cool about these are, let me blow it up just a sec here. I'm gonna blow myself. Anyway, you got the really cool screened artwork on the discs. You got the fold-out tray, which, of course, these things, the teeth always break out, but this one, it actually isn't. And then you got the Wasted Years artwork on there for the 12-inch, I believe. And then you've got the card inlay that has, actually, it's not on the printed thing. It's on a little card. And then what's kind of cool is it's got the other side of it is the artwork for Wasted Years. And then this one has a bunch of singles. It's got a bunch of covers. I'm sorry. It's got Reach Out, which is the cover. The Sheriff of Huddersfield, That Girl, and Juanita. They're all covers. They were on the 12-inch singles.
I've got I thought I had Wasted Years as well, but all I have is
one second.
I just have Stranger in the Strange Land.
Okay.
It's got That Girl and Juanita.
Okay, it does. Right. Nice. I never got those. I never had those. So, which is weird because I have them for all the Marillion stuff. But yeah, so these Castle ones, I have this one. Not that this matters, but I've got Seventh, Power Slave, and Peace of Mind, which actually Peace of Mind was my first Maiden album that I bought. So
it's a great record. A lot of cool deep cuts on there that no one talks about.
Exactly. So so getting back to this album real quick here. We've got what did I do with it? Whatever, you saw it. Comes out September 29th, 1986. It was recorded at Compass Point in Nassau, Bahamas. That was when all the metal bands were going to the Bahamas and going on vacation recording albums. That was like the thing to do in the 80s. And also at Wisslord Hilversum in the Netherlands. It's on EMI, and it's Martin Basher Birch again. This one, when it came out, went to number 3 in the UK album charts, number 11 in the US top Billboard 200. That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
The Swiss charts 22, Swedish 6, Norwegian 8, New Zealand, the ever important New Zealand charts, number 5. No offense to any New Zealanders, Kiwis. No offense. Don't hate me. He's just joking. Japanese 16, German 9, Italian 14, number 1 in Finnish. Those Finns know good metal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And number 2 in Dutch, Canada 15, Austria 10, and Australian albums 23. So did very well, very, very well. We're coming off the heels of 2 very huge records. We're coming off of 84 or 80. I'm sorry, help me out. 83 or 84 was Beast.
It was
82. It was 82. No, it wasn't 82. Yeah, it was 82.
Power Slave came out in 84, Peace of Mind 83, Number of the Beast 82.
Okay, so it was 82. So 3 bangers in a row. And you could probably make the argument that any one of those 3 are their best album.
And
Okay,
you can
so-
also say Live After Death was a very successful release as well. I mean, the double live album with that killer artwork on it, they sold a shit house full of those things.
Yep. Scream for me, Long Beach.
Yep.
That's the best I can do. But anyways, the World Slavery Tour, which they had come off of to record this, they had 4 months off, and then they had about 6 months to record this, and it was grueling and resulted in exhaustion. And it's also credited as the main factor in the complete lack of songwriting contributions from Bruce, who had written some tracks like Revelations. What was the one the other good one he wrote on Beast? Shit. Was it Children of the Damned, or was that him and Adrian? I think it was.
It might be. I don't remember.
And then on Power Slave, he did Power Slave, right?
Don't know that either.
Yeah, I think it was Power Slave and not the Duelist. That's later. What's that other one?
He wrote "Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter," which is a terrible song.
Yeah, well, that's true. We can never forgive him for that.
No.
Anyways, Bruce didn't put any material in. He did, but everything was an acoustic-based track, which I did not know this. I don't know if you knew this. I never knew this. It was all acoustic-based tracks that were kind of in the Physical Graffiti Led Zeppelin 4 vein, and he felt that by that time they needed to sort of change the formula up a little bit. Little did he know that was probably not a good idea.
No.
The record's also notable for the number of fully formed songs written by guitarist Adrian Smith, who wrote both the album's singles in Wasted Years and Stranger in Strangeland, the former of which is the only song on the record to not feature guitar synths. That was the thing in the mid-1980s. Everybody was getting into these Roland GR707.
That one didn't? I thought I heard a lot of guitar synth on that one. Stranger in the Strangeland?
Apparently not. That's what they're saying. No. No, Stranger, no, that one not. No. Wasted Years definitely has. All the other songs do, yeah. So I guess I'll go first and you can wrap up on what I piggyback on. So, all right, this album leads off with, quite frankly, I'm just going to say it, my favorite Maiden song of all time. Caught Somewhere in Time is a fucking mega tweaker bang. This thing is so out there on crack, it just can't come down. It's out in the outer space, obviously. My all-time favorite Iron Maiden song, hands down, it just is. That opening synth bass and guitar, those melodies and harmonies, which are in E Aeolian and are harmonized in parallel fourths, then fifths, then back to fourths in perfect intervals, giving it this sort of cold, mystical, almost alien sort of vibe. That wow, 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 wow. That's my best guitar impression there.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Just wait till I start doing the wah-wah. That's going to be really cool.
You need some effects on your thing like I got over here.
I do. I really do.
Anyways, a whammy pedal.
Yeah, it gives it that futuristic vibe, and it gives the song this incredibly epic feeling into the verse. That gallop, man, that gallop is just so fucking incredible.
Yeah.
When the riffs kick in right before Caught Somewhere in Time. Down, 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 down. And then it goes, caught somewhere in time. I had to go to falsetto. I can't do Bruce's thing. Yeah. I could, but I don't want to embarrass myself.
You don't want to get asked suddenly to join the band.
Well, that's exactly what I don't want Steve Harris seeing this and going, what have I been doing?
Blimey, we made the wrong choice, lads.
Blimey.
Fucking hell.
On the phone. Get him on the phone. Get him on the telly right away. All right. Some cunt's recording this. Anyways, we'll get into that in a minute. So, just a fucking epic track, man. Epic. It only can go down from there, right? Well,
no.
Maybe a tiny little bit, but not very much, because it leads off with that killer. Okay, I'll stop doing the guitar sounds with my cheesy voice here, but man, it's almost a pop song, right? Wasted Years is almost a pop song. You know, when he goes into the so understand the wasted years, it's very pop structured, but there's so many killer chords in there, man. And the way Adrian plays that song, I used to know how to play it. I'd have to sit down and kind of do a quick refresher on the chordal stuff, but not, I can do the little intro thing, but the chords behind the da na na, it's like the way he's doing that rhythm. Da na da 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 na 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 da da na 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 na. It's just fucking magic, dude. That is a magical song. I can listen to it over and over and never get tired of it. Like I said, I listened to the album 4 times.
Agreed.
The solo in Wasted Years. That's Adrian Smith, dude.
Yep.
That's Adrian Smith right there. Yeah, great single that was very successful, and yet the song, and it's a song that they play at almost every show, and there's a reason why, because people want to hear that fucking song. They just do. I know I do. If I go, I want to hear that song. Next up, another Adrian Smith song. Adrian and Bruce, I believe, on this one. Sea of Madness. Dude, it's a mega killer tweaker banger. It's just, it's ripping, man. It's almost got a weird sort of,
it's a different kind of gallop. It's more of a plotting.
It's almost like a shimmy sort of shimmy shake sort of thing. It's dare I say, it's an Iron Maiden song that has groove in it. It's got a groovy rhythm to it, and yet, you know, you get into that chorus, man, like this. When I don't know the words like I should, but like the seagull and the dove that flies so high above, blah 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 of madness. It's just so fucking great, man. I mean, it's just amazing. So you got Sea of Madness. We have not hit a mediocre track yet. Okay.
Oh yes, we're about to.
Oh no, we have not.
There's a big bump in the road coming up.
We have not reached a mediocre track yet, sir. Let me finish. All right. Everyone's favorite track on this album is Heaven Can Wait. Everyone's favorite to hate, that is. But not
the thing that sucks about this is the song is a good song until that stupid chorus. The stupid chorus. And so anyway, go ahead.
What you're saying is you don't want to hear Heaven Can Wait. Heaven can wait. Heaven can wait. Is that enough or not enough?
The thing of it is, another thing about this song that bothers me, I like the music of it a lot. I do not like when Bruce falls in lockstep with the verse, where he's like, he follows the notes verbatim. It lacks feeling to it. Like Sea of Madness, the song before it. It's the best vocals on the album, I think. The way he carries that chorus and he does ooh type stuff in the background here and there. He's really singing well on that song. And then you get to, and he's exploring different vocal harmonies over the music, whereas Heaven Can Wait, can't understand what's happened to me. You know, he's just kind of following the riff.
Well, he does follow the melody lines.
And it really, that bugs me. It always has bugged me about him.
Which he does more and more and more and more and more
as they go. Because it's easier. It's easier to do.
But you know? I'm gonna have to overrule you. This is a fucking killer track. I'm sorry.
Mostly, it's a mostly killer track.
Song, man. Yep. I mean, I say piss the hell off to all you Heaven Can Wait haters. Go drink your haterade somewhere else.
Haterade.
You're not allowed to drink haterade on Heaven Can Wait on my show. That's just what I'm saying. Anyway, yeah, it's a pop chorus. It's a pop chorus. Yes, it repeats the same lyric a bit too much, as Maiden does more and more and more. Like, let's think of, there's a song on, what's the song on The Red and the Black? Man, you want to talk about repeating the same words over and over and over, and it's 14 minutes long. At least this song's only, 8 minutes? 7-8 minutes, I believe. So I can live with that.
And that whole thing in the middle, it feels so unrelated to the rest of the song.
Dude, that's my favorite part.
It feels unrelated to the song.
I love that part. It's so fucking killer. Anyways, yeah, love that song. Huge earworm. The next track is probably my second favorite song.
Oh, this is a banger song. I love this. This is one of the better deep cuts in the Maiden catalog.
Man, the rhythm of this song, the driving, it's not real complicated drum patterns or anything, but it's just it's a 4 on the floor, go, go, go track. And man, it's just, down, and it's just like, man, you just are like the loneliness of the long distance runner. It's just the way he sings it. He's so
because he's not following the riff verbatim. He's actually singing a melody line over what's underneath him. You know,
he does that part where he's run on and on.
Yep.
And it's just so fucking killer, man.
Yep.
That song is a banger, and I've never seen it live, and that pisses me off. I don't think I've seen it live. Man, another monster track.
That's awesome. It's a great song.
Jesus Christ. Adrian Smith, stop. You're just too fucking good, dude. Like, seriously, it's just an absolutely stellar track. It's intense. It's got a darkness to it, right? Down, 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 down. It's got great riffs in it. That brave new world, the brave new world, stranger in a strange land.
Love this song too. Love it.
So fucking good. Anyways, all right. And then this is a track a lot of people are like, that's a filler track. I disagree completely. I think this is a brilliant fucking song. It's probably the most pop song on the album other than Wasted Years.
Very commercial.
But it has got some amazingly killer dual harmony guitar parts on it. And that when he's doing that, I don't know the words. I should, but I don't remember off the top of it. And he does that deja vu. You know, it's just such a cool fucking track. I love this song. It's my sleeper on there. And the part where he does the feels like I've been here before. Feels like I've been here before. I fucking love that part, man. It's so good. So good. I'm pretty sure I'm an old guy. I'm pushing 58 here. I know I always say that every stream, but I'm close to 60. And I haven't had a girlfriend in a long time. And I think I got a Woody a couple times listening to this album. Not that you guys needed to know that, but just saying,
just keep it out of the poison ivy. Just keep it out of the poison ivy. That's all we ask.
But listen, I got to tell you, trying to jerk off to the rhythm of the loneliness of long distance runner, I don't suggest that you do it, especially if you're older, because you get winded. It's just one of those.
You're not going to make it that far, I don't think. Anyway.
All right. Last but not least, we've got the big epic, and it's kind of, Harry's design. Now, he did the epic he obviously did, Hallowed Be Thy Name, which isn't quite a prog epic. It's more like a hard rock epic, right? That metal epic. Whereas we get to last album, we had help me out. Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. Before that, we had To Tame a Land. And everything is moving from the 6-minute Prodigal Son to the 8.5-minute To Tame a Land or the almost 8-minute I can never remember the name of that song. Hallowed Be Thy Name. And then you get to the 9-minute To Tame a Land. And then we get to the 13, almost 14-minute. We kind of scaled it back a little bit here, but we're still at 9 minutes almost for Alexander the Great. And I got to tell you, man, you probably hate this song because he does that.
I don't hate the song, but he does it. He does it a lot from this point on,
He does. But I still love this song, dude. I love it, man. It's just Alexander the Great. It's just his vocals are so on point throughout this entire album. I will tell you the production on this, the sequencing is perfect. Like I would never want to hear this album not in the sequence it's in. Maybe that's memory, familiarity, all that stuff I'm sure plays a part in it, but I wouldn't want this album to start out with Deja Vu or Stranger in a Strange Land. As much as I love that song, I would not. It has to start with Caught Somewhere in Time.
They've always had a pretty good knack for pacing albums. And, there's been a few exceptions along the way, but until the point where all the songs start to sound exactly the same. And I got to say, it's easy for me to throw shade at like the latest album, but I haven't been, writing music. You get in your own little formula. You kind of live within your capabilities,
Right, exactly.
And for a band to have lasted as long as the 70s and still be putting out, Senjutsu or whatever the hell it is. Is that what it was?
Senjutsu.
Senjutsu.
Yeah.
I think that is the most boring. Every song, 80 minutes of the same song over and over and over.
It's
boring
way
song.
too. I disagree with you, but it's too long. There's no question. They should.
I mean, even like A Matter of Life and Death, which is an album that I grew to really
I like
like.
that album a lot.
I really, but that was a big, humongous, long chunk of music.
I didn't like it at first either.
Yep.
Didn't like it at first either. It took it took many, many months of going back to it and making myself. Now, I bought Shinjutsu or Senjutsu. When I got it, I was like, oh, this is a big improvement over Book of Souls. But I don't know that it necessarily is. It's kind of bloated like a lot of Book of Souls is. You got that 18-minute Empire in the Cloud song. You got the Red and the Black. I like those songs, but I don't find myself being very invested in them. Although, oddly, on the last album, the last song, it was something, The Great War or The Greater... somebody will correct me. I can't remember the name of it. But that song's pretty fucking killer. But there was a lot of songs on there I was just kind of like, they're good, but they're not great anymore. And, I think to some extent, Steve kind of disappears up his own ass sometimes with writing.
Well, Bruce too. And the fact, as soon as they brought in this Kevin Shirley guy, that he was basically their yes man. I mean, Martin Birch would make Bruce do the scream in that one song over and over and over and over, or Number of the Beast. He made him do it like 50 times in a row and then decided to pick the first one he did. And it would just make Bruce mad. But here's a guy that's demanding quality and perfection out of Maiden, and the production and their playing and the songs benefit from it. You get, ever since Kevin Shirley came in, we're just going to, the band's like, we're Maiden. We want to be captured in the live sound, and we'll all play together, and Bruce will sing live. And there's a loose feeling. There's a looseness feeling to the albums when Shirley started on it. It works, but it's just not them being honed. There's no trimming the fat. There's no one there saying that part sucks, change it.
Right. There's no way that Kevin Shirley's going to go to Steve Harris and say, dude, that sucks. Get rid of that part.
But you know what? Maybe Steve Harris maybe he doesn't want to hear it. It might knock his dick in the dirt a little bit with his ego, but someone that's been doing the same thing since 1970, whatever, maybe a little quality control coming in is not a bad, I mean, you'd be like, you know what? I need somebody, all these guys around there, Maiden has become a brand. It's not a band. It's a brand.
It's a brand. Exactly.
And you've got you surround yourself, and you want to be comfortable in your company. So you surround yourself with people that like what you do. They want to get paid, and they're going to tell you yes when you ask them for something.
Yep.
So, you're presenting, you got maybe some of the guys that aren't pulling their weight writing. So you got one or two dudes writing all this music that, after the past 20 years, it might start to sound a little samey. It might start to get a little long-winded. People are thinking my career's ending. I'm going to go out giving them all the sauce, an 80-some minute long flowing mess of a record.
Yeah, it's way too long.
There needs to be quality control. And that's a long-winded way for me to say there needs to be quality control. And there needs to be people, if it was a Martin Birch saying, nope, that scream sucked, do it again. Nope, that riff could be better. Oh, that riff sounds like this riff, That sometimes that goes, it hurts to hear it, but it goes a long way in the long run.
But you're right about that, because there is quite a bit of riff regurgitation going on the last several albums.
Melodies, the same melodies over and over. The new one, there was like 3 songs with like guitar harmonies that I've heard on 3 other albums.
Yeah, you can hear Fear of the Dark in the one song.
Yeah,
the long one that's more of a mystical jam that you hear it. Totally. And don't get me wrong, I love that song, but it's like, you guys got to be able to come up with something a little different, right? I mean, but maybe not. Maybe they're kind of tapped out. I don't know. I don't know how long it took them to write that. What, 7 years was it? Or no, 15? And when?
No, they wrote it. They were
5 years.
Yeah.
5 years.
Yeah.
But
and it sucks to sit here, criticizing a tested and true iconic metal band that has written album after album after album that hold up and stand the test of time. But
your point is well taken, that for us long in the tooth fans, we're not nearly as invested in these last several albums because we've kind of heard it all before. And the new take on it isn't all that new, and it isn't all that revolutionary sounding. And I don't hate Senjutsu. I will say that I listened to it a little bit the first few weeks, the first week or two it came out. It's never gone back in my player at all.
The problem is the album is too long for you to spend the time to get to know the songs well enough. You know,
exactly.
I don't want to sit down 85 minutes staring at my speakers watching, you know, because that's how I sometimes like to take in music. I sit, I put it on, I sit, and I try to interact with the music.
Right.
And if by halfway through, 3/4 of the way through the first disc, I'm fucking bored.
Yeah.
You know, and then at the end of the day, how many times am I going to want to spin it in the week if it's an 85-minute long disc? It's just too much.
Yep. Very rare.
Anyway, we're off track here. Sorry.
So sequencing is perfect to me. The production to me on this album is perfect. It's just everything sounds to me. The mix is really great. Maybe you have a different take on that, but I love the way it's mixed. Replayability. This is an easy 10 for me. I'm sorry, it's an easy 10 for me. Like I said, I put this on. I went back and forth. I went Killers, and the replayability on Killers pretty close to a 10. If it's not a 10, it's awful close. But I might skip one or two tracks, which I'm not doing on this album. So, it's a fucking amazing album. So, do you have any tweener bangers or bangers you want to talk about?
I mean, I think the concept of this show is I thought, you know, we're supposed to try to convince each other to, you know, whatever, but really these are two of my favorite Maiden albums.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to do, right?
I mean, if you were trying to sell me on Virtual 11, that would be a more heated angry debate, but you know, you're not going to do that with anybody with common sense. But I love this record. I love it. It's an amazing record. It's not a perfect record. Production, I'll start off right away. Listening to it on headphones, I typically have this on in the car or, you know, listening to it at home. I rarely listen to it on vinyl. I put it in the CD or I stream it. But listening to it on headphones here in the last couple days, I'm reminded, and this is going to sound negative, but it's not. It's got a murky quality to it. It's kind of murky, but it's very atmospheric, which I really, really, really like. It's probably the most atmospheric sounding Maiden record, which I always attribute it to the guitar synth, but
this one or Seventh Son are probably in that same.
The Seventh Son's a great record too.
I love that album too, man.
So good, and it is very much the companion piece to this record for sure.
Absolutely, yep.
I'm not gonna lie, there starts to show a little bit of writing on the wall. We all know that the band was burnt out, like just come off a massive world tour that went for years. Bruce was fried. I mean, you listen to Live After Death. I love that record, but he is roach, dude. He's roach. And you watch him, you know, the Live After, when he's like, you think he's like really like playing for the crowd, throwing his arms up when he's screaming. He's trying to get there. He's trying to get those notes. He's struggling. You're watching a guy trying to give 100% and struggling to get there. But, you know, all moving parts break down, you know. Anyway, let's get into the songs here. Caught Somewhere in Time. I agree with Jeff. It's a great lead-off track. I love the layered, stacked / synth guitars in the chorus. Great tone as well. The song flows like a solar flare through space. I love it. I love the flowing pace of that song. Wasted Years. Classic song. And one of the only Life on the Road is Hard tracks in rock history that I can get behind, to the sincerity behind it. I mean, you listen to it, there's a sense of sorrow, loss, and longing in that track, in the harmonies, in the lyrics, in the way Bruce is singing them. Great song. It's amazing. Sea of Madness, plotting banger. I love Bruce's vocal and lyrical placement choices. Very powerful pre-chorus. The best vocals on the album for me. Right?
It's definitely
the way he places the harmonies over it. Perfect. Heaven Can Wait. Decent song. It is mostly all the moving parts around it. The music is good. I don't like the way Bruce just slaps the lyrics in, locks them into the what's going on underneath them. I hate it. In fact, I that's something that he does a lot more after this record. The chorus, it's another sign of things to come. They start getting into the name of the song 4 times is the chorus. It's lame. It's lazy for a band that is at this point provided such deep, thoughtful material. Loneliness. This is an overlooked Maiden deep cut. I love how the driving, unrelenting nature of the tempo / riffs mirrors the lyrical concept. The band was always amazing at combining the two, the lyrics with Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner is a prime example where that do 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 part, you can see the boat in a waveless sea just creaking. I mean, that to me is genius. How you can lock the lyrics with the music. It's and they were always good at that. I know Steve Harris wrote that song, and Adrian wrote this one. Either way, it's great. I love how the chorus builds into the dual guitar / soaring lead lines. Amazing song. Stranger in a Strange Land, another twee banger or whatever.
Tweener banger. That's a mega banger.
Okay, this is a mega banger. Yeah. Stranger in a Strange Land, sleazy and mystical. That lead off track. It's got kind of a sleazy, kind of a older feel to it. I love this song. The lead off riff slithers. Then they strip it away for minimal guitar synth lines. If they're not guitar synths, there's synth underneath. I'm listening to it. I can hear synth lines down there. So taking that sleazy guitar part away, stripping it down with like a minor synth line underneath, and just Bruce singing over that. It's kind of a cool thing.
Oh, killer.
Incredible atmosphere and writing on that one for sure.
You'll notice too the four Adrian songs. Let's see, is it 4 or is it 3? You got Wasted Years, you got Sea of Madness, you got Stranger. So is it 3 then? Am I missing something? Yeah, 3. You notice that the choruses on those are not the repetition of the song title.
Yeah.
Whereas even Caught Somewhere in Time has the repetition of the song title. You know what I mean? Because he's doing the caught somewhere in time. But the way he does it on there is just so freaking.
Yeah, he's not following the. I mean, let's look at what Bruce writes. Bring your daughter to the slaughter. I mean, there's. I just threw up in my mouth. Anyway, Deja Vu. Feels very similar to the driving nature of Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner. The same speed, the same kind of plotting headfirst attack, just with a more commercial aura design in the song. Bruce follows the riff lines too closely here, but I still like the song. I still think it's a good song. Alexander the Great. This was a surprising one listening to it a little more intently here the last few days. I like the song. I'm going to put it out there. But I would say it's more concept than cohesion. Very heavy on guitar synths, which doesn't bother me. The plotting crunch and wandering guitar melody lines feels undercooked to me. I love the proggy middle section. It sounds like this was pieced together last minute in the studio. It seems like a song that's got a lot of awesome moving parts, kind of almost there, but not really. Another 3 months of pounding on this one. I mean, you've been in bands, Jeff. You're working on a song. Sometimes a year down the road, you're still tweaking a song to get it.
You're like, man, I just want to get this thing fucking done, man. Seriously.
And when you are in you're in the studio for 6 months, you have to write, and you just come off a massive tour. You probably have very few ideas. You have very few minutes to work on new material. You're going to be using a lot more than you're throwing away. And this is one of those songs, I think let's make a big, long epic. And you can kind of tell there's some parts that are added on just to pad it out. To me,
right? Yeah.
Again, I don't hate it. I like it, but it does, in light of some of the absolutely amazingly crafted songs on this record, it seems like it's not done.
A little pedestrian for you.
More concept than cohesion. Yep.
What about sequencing? You think pretty much it is what it is, right?
I have no problem with the sequencing on this. They put my least favorite song, Plunk, in the middle of the album, which I guess there was no real place on it that was going to make it.
Well, that would have been the end of side 1, and Loneliness was So
I mean, and I guess it's the best place that song could have been, because they followed up with one of the best songs on the album.
What about production?
I like the production. Like I said, it feels to me in this modern era a little murky, but I do love the atmosphere of it. I think it's a great sounding album. The guitars seem a little washed out in reverb, but
there is quite a bit, because they were using a lot of effects by this time. I mean, the guitar synth, like I said, that the Roland G, and they were also using a Galen Kruger amp. I forget what model it was. They were using GK amps, and GK amps have a very unique sort of bright, brittle sort of distortion to them that's unique. And I think you can hear it, and you can definitely, like, by way of referencing, Alex Lifeson was also using a GK right around that time when it was 87, 86, when they put out Power Windows and Hold Your Fire. It's very tinkly and very washy and very, effects drenched, very wet sounding as opposed to dry sounding. That's what she said. But anyway, but yeah, look, in coming up with this concept, it was like, okay, I said, yeah, we got to convince each other, but you know as well as I do that when you're going down to this thing, even though, see, this is where Rick got all like super anal retentive on me when I pitched this to him. He's like, well, are you talking about your favorite or are you talking about the definitive? Because those are two different things. I'm like, well, why can't they be the same?
Yeah.
But
I went from my favorite, and I figured,
what he was saying though, because what are you going to generally do? You're going to gravitate towards your favorite. You might step back and go, well, what was the biggest selling album? Well, I honestly don't know. It's probably either Number or Power Slave.
Number was the first one that they got a platinum record on. Was that the one? Their van broke down and they were pushing it somewhere. The whole band was out pushing their van, and they got the word that their album went platinum or something, or gold or something. I don't remember.
Let me see what old Google says. All right, biggest selling is Number of the Beast.
Yeah.
But the number they say here can't be right. There's no way. They're saying it sold 626,000. No, here it is. Number of the Beast, 2,200,380 copies, which who knows if that's,
and still sells. It's that record still new metal fans coming up. That record is always going to be for sale.
But think about this. That album is their biggest selling album at 2.2 million. And Metallica's Black Album has sold like what, 20?
It's still in the charts. It's still on the charts. They're still making like what Jason Newsted said, he was bringing home $9,000 a week in royalties for that record. Something ridiculous, dude. Insane. A lot of money.
Insane, man. I could be into that. That would be pretty nice. $9,000 a week.
But you know what? They did the work. They deserve it. They've sacrificed their family and relationships and their own lives to go out on the road and not see home for 3 years, 2 years in a row. And
well, so
say what you want.
The thing that's difficult about this one also is that we're talking about two different eras. And Logan made a statement back here quite a ways back. Let's see if I can find it. Where he said, and I really agree with him. As much as I like Di'Anno, and I do like those albums a lot, in particular Killers. The reality of it is, were they going to get where they got to?
Nope.
With Paul Di'Anno, and I just don't see that it would.
He couldn't have got him there, and he would have. The rigors of around town doing little mini tours here and there. He's probably fine, a little scratchy here and there, but on a year-long tour, his voice was not going to. It's like Blaze Bayley. He went in there. He was not built for. He was a buddy of theirs who they like to play soccer with. That's why they had him in the band.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, and the fact that he couldn't sing like Bruce, and him trying to do it for the tour schedule that they needed, it crushed him, dude. He couldn't do it. He couldn't do it live. He sounds fine on his own stuff. Man on the Edge. I mean, The first X Factor is a good record, and there's a handful of really good songs on.
I like the music on that's really good. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, and I like his voice on his songs, but man, it just didn't work for the other stuff.
Trying to find that statement you made, Logan. Maybe you can throw it back in the comments real quick. I'm struggling to find it. Sorry about getting them. The way you put it was really good. Bruce, throughout his entire career, not a smoker to my knowledge at all. Very, very, very athletic, very fit. He was doing fucking fencing and he was a runner out on the road.
They all played soccer. They
all played soccer. Yep. And Paul was the the drinker and the smoker and the cocaine
fighter
guy.
Yeah.
He never would have. If he did get out on the road, I don't think he would have survived the road. I don't think he was going to make it. And they knew that. Steve knew that. He knew this guy's not going to cut it. As good as he is, as cool and unique as his sound is, he's not going to cut it long haul. And Steve knew where he was going with this thing. He had a vision. He had the drive. He had the ability to make it happen. He got the right management in. And like you said, Iron Maiden is not just a band. They're more of a brand now than anything else. Like Metallica. I mean, you know, Metallica put out that album recently. Are you ever going to listen to that again, you think? Probably not.
I'll eventually own it because I've got all their other records, but I'll never listen to it. I don't listen to Hardwired. I did like Death Magnetic. I will pull that out on occasion and listen to it.
I to be honest with you, dude, I have not listened to anything from Metallica beyond the Black Album in forever. And I only pick certain songs out of the Black Album that I like, the ones that you never hear. You know what I mean?
Oh, no, that is amazing how many videos and shit they put out for that.
You know, as far as the whole concept of, am I going to convince you? Well, no, because you have a favorite album and I have a favorite album. So,
and this is one of my, Somewhere in Time is one of my favorite Maiden records.
Exactly. And I really love Killers. So is it in my top 3? Probably not. I would say for me, it's somewhere, it's Power Slave, and it's probably Peace of Mind, because it has a lot of kind of tracks that you don't talk about that much, like Still Life and just Revelations. What a fucking killer track that is.
Yeah.
So we don't want to get into every single album, but I mean, it's kind of like you're also trying to straddle 2 eras with 2 different singers. It's a pretty big deal, because it's kind of like the Bon Scott and the Brian Johnson thing with AC/DC. Or to get proggy on you, the Fish Steve Hogarth thing with Marillion. It took me years to warm up to the Hogarth stuff, and I don't like it nearly as much as I like the Fish stuff. However, going back to this tonight and yesterday and tonight and re-listening to Killers, I was like, damn, man, this fucking album really rules. And that was a fun thing to run into and not be like, this sucks. You know what I mean? It's just, it's a different vibe. It's a different palette for his singing, what he brings versus what Bruce brings. And so,
but at the very most, I'm just glad that you reconnected with an album that I think is great, that you actually spend some time with and realize that, this is a good record. This isn't crap. Bruce isn't the be all end all of Maiden. And this is a great comment, Logan, because you're right. There's no way in hell that Di'Anno could have taken them where they needed to go.
Yeah.
And they were heading. Killers was a glimpse at where they've been and where they were going. It was a crossroads record.
Yeah, there's absolutely no way that Paul Di'Anno could sing Caught Somewhere in Time.
No.
And most of the other songs that come, after, like, Number of the Beast and stuff like that, he might have been able to get away with that one and a couple of other songs on Number of the Beast, but that Steve was becoming a more polished and progressive songwriter, and as he did that, he needed someone that could handle the load that he was going to put on them. Yep. And so that's that. But so I think that let me just check my little cheat sheet real quick. I think we got everything. Production, sequencing, length. Oh, the length of the album. Yours is 41 minutes long, I believe. Perfect length.
Perfect.
And even at 51, the Somewhere in Time doesn't feel like it overstays.
I don't care if an album's long, if it's paced correctly and it doesn't feel like it's long, and the songs are good where you want to hear them again. That.
And we talked about chart position and all that kind of stuff. We talked about. I didn't really. I don't remember. Was there only one single or 2 singles that came off Killers? Twilight Zone.
I know Twilight Zone, and I don't know.
Rat's Out, right?
Let me look real quick.
And then
we've got Killers. There's Twilight Zone. Rat Child is a single. Purgatory had a single. Rat Child, Genghis Khan had a single, and then out came after that the same year. You've got Made in Japan.
But now keep something in mind, though. In the 80s, the single, the 12-inch single was the big deal.
Oh, it's important.
Yeah, it was very important. So bands actually had way more singles released back then than they do now. Now, you know, or in the last 20 years.
Bands don't even do demos anymore. They just go right to
production, pre-production.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks, Nate. I mean, yeah, it's fun.
Thanks,
and you know, these are only as good as my guests, and I knew Marty would be a great guest to have on. We haven't done anything since way back on my channel anyways. We hadn't done anything since back in
well, we got drunk a couple times.
Boy, Vod. Well, we've done the hangs, but we didn't do any music related except for the Nevermore thing on your channel. So
always a pleasure. And thanks for filling in for me on Friday. It was great.
Yeah. So we've got real quick, what's coming up for you guys? I know you want to mention your guest on Friday. Alan did already, but do you know who it is? You remember his name?
His name is Dan, does the Colosseum website in Sweden. And Wednesday, the album club, we're discussing Mayhem's Damon, I believe is called.
Damon. Yeah, Damon.
And Monday, we usually do reviews, but I've been in the woods all weekend and I've had no submissions and I have no time to do one for myself. So this week, the review might happen later in the week. If not, it'll be next Monday. So we're skipping a week on that, which bums me out, but whatever. We can't do everything all at once. So
yeah, so you guys know Marty, obviously. Most of you guys are familiar with Marty, if not all of you, from Heavy Metallurgy. The link is in the description. Also, the IG
Thanks.
for Heavy Metallurgy. I can never say that fucking word. And I, you know, in case you never heard of this band Iron Maiden, because they are kind of not that well known, but if you haven't, check the links in the description for their Instagram and their website. And I will say, for such a monstrously giant band, their website is not the greatest website. It's not very modern. But
really, I have not been on in ages.
It's okay. It's just not the greatest website. You'd think for being multi-billionaires, they could do a little better. No offense, Bruce. Don't be pissed. I'm not. You know, if you want to come on and talk, I'm willing to get down on my knees. But anyway, so on my show, Tuesday night, if things don't go weird again. That's all I'll say. But if things don't go weird, Tuesday night at 10 p.m., I've got Greg May from Tyrant coming back on. We're going to finish up the Tyrant story. That's 10 p.m. Eastern. So, Greg, if you're watching, that's 7 p.m. your time in California. We're going to wrap up with the final two albums. I don't know who this Worm guy is. Sometimes you have to slum it. That's just what happens. And, you know.
Whatever.
But and then on Wednesday night after you guys wrap up at 10:30, we're gonna do another dad episode because I have so many. I already have close to 20 people that signed up for this that want to do one. And if I do one a week, that's gonna be. It'll take me till mid-summer next year.
Well, they're fun. They're fast and easy.
Yeah. And so. Devin's going to be on with me from Maze of Torment. We're going to talk about Mastodon. He chose Blood Mountain. I chose Crack the Sky. And that artwork rules. That was your boy right here. That was not Rick. Yeah, eat it up. Anyway, the one that I did for us might be a tad busy. Just a tad. Just a little bit. But I could not use the cover of that album because we might have picked the two best album covers too, you know it?
Live After Death is so good.
I like that one too, and I do like Seventh Son.
Seventh Son is weird. The color scheme, the simplicity, it's like one little figure in the center, you know, it's almost like a replica. Anyway.
But yeah, it is almost, you're right. Okay, so that's Wednesday night, 10:30 p.m. Thursday night this week, Melinda and I are finally gonna tackle the first 10 years of Hawkwind. We're going to do the 9 studio albums from 70 to 80 and the one massively big live album that they did. They've got a million live albums, but they've got one album that matters, and that is Space Ritual. So that's going to be me and Melinda and I. And then Sunday, I hope to have either Chromie D coming in to talk Judas Priest. We'll wait to get the artwork up to tell you what albums we chose. Either Chromie or maybe Logan. I'm not sure. I got to check in with all those guys and see what's going on with them. So those are the things that are happening. Last thing, Jethro Tull, the second half of the catalog is going down with Eric Berg on September 17th, which is a Sunday. I believe we're doing that at 10 o'clock my time, 7 Eric's. And I believe that's it. The Rainbow Deep Dive is going to be jumping into October because of scheduling, and Anathema's later too. And so is Prog Metal Island. We're going to get there. We're going to get there, hopefully. So I want to thank everybody for being here. Marty, I want to thank you for joining me tonight.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. It was always fun. Always,
great fun. And you got to learn some new lingo. I would hope that the next time you return here, you've got your mega bangers, your tweaker bangers, your tweener bangers.
Yep.
Your two baggers. And your meh.
And your itchy wieners. And your itchy wieners.
What's that?
And your itchy wieners.
Well, yeah. I don't know. I don't know if that needed to be out there on the internet, but who gives a fuck? I'm old and I don't care. But hang on a sec, Marty. So, guys, thank you everyone for checking in, and everybody, Celtic, Tim, Devin, Wade.
Good seeing everybody. Thanks for coming.
Logan, Nate, everybody. Thank you guys. Tim, we'll catch you guys soon.